It's Wednesday. Welcome to the Midday Show with me, Russ Kane. I know I'm not normally here on a Wednesday. Normally, this is the sole province of the king of comedy within a radius of, I'm going to go mad, 5 miles of the Tolworth Tower in southwest London. Anyway, I don't know. I've got no sense of geography. Anywho, such a packed show. I thought Neil might want some support. And it's some of my heroes who are coming. Amazing, amazing guests coming up. But first, you know him. You love him. I like him. I mean, I don't love him. I mean, he's okay. And the cheapest in his price range. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Long.
Thank you very much indeed.
That is my singular pleasure. What do you think about fabulous new look? Thank you, Phil Dave, you genius.
Very nice logo. Very tasteful.
Thank you very much. It's all a new look because it's a fresh whole thing. It's like a thing.
I've got a really weird sight going on in the background. Someone is repairing a beanbag with a roll of sellotape. That's not going to work.
It is not going to work. I haven't got time for personal problems. We've got some giants of broadcasting to talk to. Giants!
Let's talk to them then.
I'm thrilled she's here. I can't see Helen, but I can see the fabulous Louise Minchin.
Hello,
Louise.
Russ. Hey, how are you? Hi, Neil. How are you?
Hi, Louise.
How are you? Much more to the point.
You are a rose
between two thorns. And I don't care. I'm saying it. I'm just saying it. I don't care.
I'm glad that we've all got red on in some sort of
Well,
form.
you see, I wish I could say it was planning, Louise, but I actually just put this on because when you get to my age, you have to do the Alan Bates cravat. Otherwise, you look like a turkey. So, it's fact. And my new kind of look is this red. So it just works. Brilliant.
It works. It definitely is working for you. And I've got red glasses.
I know.
And Neil's got a red chair or something, or maybe red coat.
I've got a red throw over on the chair. Yeah, I was wondering where my red connection was coming in. But yes, you're right.
Maybe you're a communist. I don't know. Maybe you're a commie. Who knows? Louise, tell us why.
Yeah.
This is Helen here. No, Helen isn't there. Right. So it's just the fabulous Louise Minchin. Tell us why you are here.
Well, I'm talking today about, I've talked about taboo subjects in the past, right? But today, I think there's a bit of stigma. I think you might both agree with me about talking about death, right?
Oh,
and that's what we're going to do. Yep.
Excellent.
I saw you both wince. So
No.
No, it wasn't a wince.
Far from it.
It wasn't a wince. It was more of a Roger Moore raised quizzical eyebrow.
Okay.
Hang on.
Thank you, Roger. That was very good raised eyebrow. So, Co-op Funeral Care, they've done a big report about death and about whether or not we talk about it. Lots of things came out of it. Few things for me. So, a fifth of Brits think about their death every week. I'm not one of them, actually. Around 1 in 10 of us don't discuss death at all with friends and family. And I think it's important to do so. I don't know, we'll come to you in a sec, because I think it's really important because alongside that, one of the most important things for those left behind is ensuring that the requests of the person who died are met. And if you don't know what they want, how are you going to do it? Yeah?
Totally.
So it's an awkward conversation. And it's not something that I've talked about. And so I've been married 25 years. And this week was the first time in my life I said to my husband, I mean, we talk about most things, right? I said to him, so what do you want to happen to your body when you die? Yeah. And I did pretty much go in like that, by the way. Ooh. And he told me, much to my shock, he wants to be cremated. And I never knew that. And this is really important stuff that we need to know so we can plan, so we can do the right thing. And he was shocked when I told him, actually, I completely disagreed. And I want to be buried and be made into a tree.
Into a tree?
I mean.
Fair enough.
Yeah, well, I will see.
Minchin oak.
But I just think these are really, if you plan, if you tell people, you can make, at a point where you lost a loved one, you have to make difficult decisions. They can help guide you. Yeah.
No, Louise, why do you first of all think that actually, first of all, this is from Liz Saul. I miss working with you in Salford, but I'm glad to be close to home in London. Do you remember Liz?
Oh, that's so cute. Hello.
And we've been joined also by Helen. Hello, Helen.
Hello, Helen. Oh,
Good.
and why is it you think, Louise,
like Celebrity Squares,
that people don't? This is like Celebrity Squares, isn't it?
Why
do you think people don't talk about this subject? What do we just? Are we too scared to? Is it taboo? Is it like a British thing? Like we never talk about sex. Do we not talk about death either? You know, is it just like a taboo subject?
I think it is a taboo subject. I think it's really awkward. I think it's, I felt really awkward about it. And according to the report, most concerns are, for example, as soon as you start talking about death, are you going to worry your family? Yeah. Are you, for example, my parents are in their 80s now. If I start saying, so what about your funeral? They're going to think, why are you talking about my funeral? I'm talking about the funeral so I can get it right, right?
And they go, we're not dead yet, for God's sake.
I know, there is that, but there's...
Do you want those candlesticks now? Can't you wait? I mean, that's how it goes.
I would say in that position is no, I don't want that now, but what I want to do is I want to know so that when you die, that I do what you'd like to do and that I make you proud. That's why.
Absolutely.
I mean,
now, Louise, you wouldn't know that as well as what else I do. I'm a celebrant. I'm a fully accredited professional celebrant as well. And I seem to be specializing in funerals. And I can assure you this is so timely, which is why I'm thrilled that you and Helen can come on the show. Because if you don't know what your loved ones really want, you're going to do the wrong thing.
Right.
And, I have to deal with the families. I find it a wonderful thing to do. It's the most satisfying thing I've ever done in my life, oddly enough. I've done a lot of stuff. But you've got to know and give them the send-off they deserve. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Because it's not frightening. It's not frightening at all. I promise you, it's not.
Oh, you've made me feel better. It made me feel better because I just think... you will see the impact on people, won't you, of doing something that feels celebratory and warm and, beautiful, actually. It can be that, can't it? And I think if you've passed on information, it's going to make it much easier.
I mean, yesterday, just to emphasize exactly what you're saying, and it was being silly when you were talking, like to your parents, that we had upset and all the rest of it, is I meet the families and then I go away and with my notes, write the eulogy and I send it back. And it really focuses a family on the person that they've just lost. And I got a beautiful message yesterday that made my heart full. It's important. It's so important, but it's not scary. By talking about it doesn't mean it's going to happen. You're not going to get hit by a truck just because you talk about it. It's just finding what people really want.
For me, my parents... we didn't really discuss it, but I know they would have not wanted anything fancy. Yeah. So we just did a very basic thing, a very basic thing. And neither do I want anything fancy, apart from having my ashes put into a firework rocket and launched.
Oh, brilliant! There you go.
Which is written into my will, and you should have seen the will writer's face. Her face was an absolute picture.
Not the first time that Neil Long's been fired, by the way. Thank you. I'm here all week.
And interestingly, a bit of pop music news, which is relatable to this. The Katy Perry song "Firework." Do you know that one?
Yeah.
You're a firework. That's what that's about.
Oh,
that's exactly what that is about.
Helen knew that. Helen knew that because she's busy nodding. I didn't know that.
Yeah. True story. That's what that's about. What's important for me, the reason why it's important for me to talk to my daughter is that I know the process I went through of, losing my parents about 7 years apart, and that bit in between, which was a really bad bit. That sounds awful, but it's a long story. But and my dad was very sudden, and it's learned. Okay, this is the reason why I feel it's important to talk about it to our children, or I've only got one child, to my child, not that she's a child, to my fully grown young woman. If she's listening, she'd kill me. I know the process I went through, and it's like a learning curve when you least need it. Grieving is difficult.
Yes, I can see that.
And when you're in a grieving mindset, to learn new things, all this legalese, all the things you may have never deal with, agencies you may not have dealt with before, that's tough enough on a healthy open, receptive mind on a grieving mind is bloody difficult. So
it's awful.
My job, I feel, is just to make it as easy for her as possible by putting in something for the future. So as and when it does happen, it makes it easy for her without putting an incentive in for her to bump me off early.
But, you know, all these things we have to, one of the things we want to do here on Midday Show is remove these taboos, because they are just taboos. And ultimately, they're just words. And words don't kill you. Words don't make you ill. And it just, at least everybody knows what to do. My parents went and they'd worked out what they wanted, and that was fine. But when my wife died 20 years ago this year, I hadn't a clue. Absolutely, which is why I wanted to become a celebrant. But I thought about it for 20 years, because you're in a tailspin. And a very dear friend of mine called Debbie said, "Why don't we get a celebrant?" I went, "Okay, don't even know what it is," and dealt with it.
Yeah,
so
I didn't know what a celebrant was.
No. So it's so important, because otherwise, you know, you're at the most emotional probably in your life, and both Helen and Louise are nodding. You're incredibly emotional. You're not thinking straight. Why would you? You know, and suddenly this huge thing happens, and you have to deal with it. Well, if you haven't pre-planned it, boy, oh boy, it's rough. It's very rough.
My dad has asked me, which is, I need to talk to you. I'll have to pick up this conversation when we're not on air anymore. But he's asked me to do the eulogy, which is terrifying. But yeah, it's terrifying. It's a big responsibility. But I do know. Do you see what I mean? So to have that dropped on me after he had died would be awful.
Yeah,
but I'll talk to you. Yeah.
And that get into the conversations as well, in knowing that eulogy and knowing what you want to say, and that it naturally starts the conversation beforehand as well.
Yeah.
It does. And it's not horrible. It's actually, I know you're going to think this is counterintuitive, but it's really quite uplifting, because you look at someone's life and go, that was a pretty good life. You know, look at all the things they did. And the memories start to come up for the family, and it makes it, you've used the word, Louise, more of a celebration. Everybody say, yeah, you're going to be upset. Of course you're going to be emotional. Someone's just died. But on the other hand, you're celebrating their life and not just going through meaningless, you know, what I call word salad, which is just horrible.
Not just that bit, not just the end of it, like the whole thing. And when you look at it across a longer timeline, it certainly is, in most cases, something to celebrate. And we've got this kind of attitude in the UK to death. We either ignore it because it's too frightening or embarrassing, or we make it very dour and very sad. And I want to put a distinction in here. Depending on what you believe, I suppose, there's the loss of the people left behind. But in some cases, and I'm sure we could all think of a few examples, death might not be a bad thing. In some cases,
that's true. I know people are going to go, right. I agree with you. My mum, right, Helen and Louise, my mum had Alzheimer's, and the doctor said, 5 years maximum. 16 years later, 16 years of it. And boy, when she finally passed, I was like, thank goodness, because she would have hated to, I'm just underlining and underscoring what Neil's just said. She would have hated the person she became. She wouldn't have recognized it was like, well, thank goodness she's at rest now. That's fine. She's in a better place than it was in the nursing home for 6 months.
Maybe it's a controversial thing, and maybe this is the show to bring it up, but if there's no quality of life, if literally just through technology or whatever, we're keeping somebody alive. Now, I wouldn't like to be the one to make that decision. Trust me. When I had to sign the DNR, do not resuscitate, for my mum, honestly, it's a completely legal thing to do, a necessary thing to do. I felt like I was committing murder. It felt awful.
Well, I signed the same thing. I've done it twice. And get me, I'm like Harold Shipman. I signed it twice. And, you know, what would they want?
I think that's absolutely. That's the point. And Helen's from the co-op, and she's done this big report, and that's exactly what came out, is that people really want to know, don't they, Helen? What?
Yeah.
Well, that's it. They just want to know, to ease that emotional burden, to be able to take that anxiety away. and to be able to celebrate. And all our research has shown that we've done a co-op, that it does make a difference. It does allow you to get ready for that death and get ready for that for that celebration. And it's but we've seen that less than half of us have had that conversation, and that's against the backdrop of over 20% of us thinking about death and our mortality every week. So the more we can start this conversation, this is a brilliant conversation. The more we can keep going, the better.
Now, Helen, you wouldn't know, but I do a lot of work with the co-op. I actually do it by pure chance. This is not why you're here. It's not why you're here at all. But it's lovely. It's recommendation, and the co-op. I get a phone call, and I call it the death phone, and I have a specific phone, and it only goes, and it's going to be a funeral director or a client saying, "Are you available?"
You have a specific phone. Wow.
Yeah. I do. I have a very specific phone just for that.
That's it. And so the service that from a celebrant and from our funeral directors, and being able to really give that beautiful send off and celebration is just so. And again, whether it's a simple funeral, as Neil talked to, or a really elaborate funeral, it is about all the things we can do and having that conversation and starting that conversation. So, and our celebrants are absolutely brilliant that you work with us.
Oh yeah, thank you. And it's down to things like, I can't get rid of this blooming thing, Neil, which says Facebook like from Dave Sleet. It's delightful, but I don't know.
I can't see that.
I don't know how to get rid of it. God only knows.
I love that we get messages. I've never done one of these shows. I love that we get messages, all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah, you can do whatever you like. You can do it all. All sorts of messages come up. It's all live. It's all interactive.
There you go. Yeah. Look, Kimmy, my mum gave me clear instructions, made things easier. Also gave me reason to distant members. Oh,
yeah,
it's amazing.
It's important. Yeah. And also,
now, interestingly, says Kimmy, religions deal with death so much easier and so much happier. Now, I'm not a religious person, but there are some things in some religions that I know of that do help. In the Jewish religion, for example, there are things and process. I've got some Jewish friends, so I know this. That there's some processes that have come down the centuries, I suppose, and I still see value in those today, even though I'm not going to convert to Judaism anytime soon, but the process I can see as valuable. And this is from Liz. I did my mum's eulogy, as these were her wishes, along with leading the prayers, which was quite pioneering. Liz being Liz rather than Mr. Liz, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Quite pioneering for a woman to do it, which is a shame to say in these recent times, but it was. In the Jewish religion, the more orthodox denominations don't allow women to do that, which is crazy. So it was important to her that I did it. In the liberal Jewish section, women do participate. I went into journalism mode to get through it. But Mum was a journalist too. It was appropriate. We were able to broadcast the service over Zoom, which seemed apt as well.
Absolutely, because now the service.
Thank you.
Yeah, the services, by the way, are streamed all over the world. Because I did a funeral the other last week, and the lady's sister was elderly. She lives in Canada. She wasn't able. So it's great that technology there, and I'm sure Helen's busy nodding there because I know the co-op would do it. It's important, so it's inclusive. The other thing is, and no one ever talks about this, and I'm waiting to see our guest's reaction.
Okay, I'm trying to keep my face neutral.
Do your best game face here.
Poker face, everybody.
Poker face, everybody. Is sometimes the family go, do not mention so-and-so. And it's like throwing a match onto a tin of gasoline. Oh, God, it can get really heated. And, of course, you're just sitting there at a family meeting going, I'm going to get out of here as quickly as I can.
Wanting to ask exactly what so-and-so did that you don't want him mentioned.
Well, as a writer, you're thinking, what did they do? I'm dying to know now. But you can't really go. But also, you don't want it, because if the person who has passed really didn't like that person or had been hurt by that person emotionally or whatever, they don't want them mentioned at the funeral. But it's important to know these things.
Yeah, very important.
It's absolutely about getting to know that family and all those family dynamics, and our funeral directors do a brilliant job. And you say on us.
You have to do this, because imagine if that person was alive and suddenly Auntie Doreen is mentioned, and she's loathed Auntie Doreen since 1958. The atmosphere is going to drop like, the dairy aisle in Lidl. I mean, it's just it's going to go like that. It is. Look, I want to ask Helen. Helen, have you noticed any trends in this? Because I know you're very busy, the pair of you. You've got to dash off. But is there anything in particular that you've noticed with the co-op and funeral services?
I think generally there's over at co-op, we've noticed a real trend to more personalised funerals. So families really choosing and understanding and knowing what they can do and really looking to, as we've talked about, turn that into a celebration of life. And that's why, because every funeral is different, and every funeral we've seen a move to simple funerals, but also, as I say, fantastic, really individual, unique funerals, whether that's you're taken to your final resting place in a double-decker bus, or you're taken all these sorts of things we can at the co-op and can absolutely personalise your funeral, and we're seeing more people understand that and want to have that conversation, which is why having the conversation when you're still alive and starting that conversation with your loved ones is all for that reason.
Do you know another good thing about conversations like this? Because it's so taboo and we either brush it off or pretend it doesn't exist, it can kind of bring you back to the moment and think, it's really important.
Louise has got. I'm so sorry. Louise has got a dash. She's got a dash because she's there.
Okay.
But
Louise, lovely to have you.
Let's put Helen in the middle. There we go.
Hello, Helen. Rose between two thorns. It can give me, for certainly, more of a desire to really live now, not kind of get into ruts in life, day-to-day routine. It's an awakening moment. It's like, hell, this is going to happen to all of us. Let's live now, and perhaps the gift of, if such thing be, of someone passing on, their gift to us is to say, live now. Don't wait until you're married, a millionaire, whatever the goals are, to be happy. Live fully now.
Look at this. Look at this. God. Look at this comment from Graham Pack. When my mother-in-law died, and Jamie, we'll come on to you in a minute. Thank you for being patient. When my mother-in-law died 7 years ago, my wife and her brother did not tell their other brother. Holy moly, because they'd had a falling out years earlier. He wasn't a happy bunny, I bet, when he found out a few weeks afterwards. Wow. Wowee. That's rough. Helen, bless you for coming. Can I just clear one thing up? And it is but you seem like a really up for it sort of person, and it's not a joke. So many people say to me at the crematorium, Russ, we don't want the coffin to lower and suddenly start. And I go, look, that only happened in Goldfinger in James Bond. There's no furnace there. There's no fire there. There is nothing there.
No,
please. It's a horrible mental image. Put it away. It's complete fabrication. It's not true.
Absolutely.
There's nothing behind the curtains. I promise you. It's like the Wizard of Oz. There's not. Am I right, Helen? Please back me up.
Absolutely right. That is.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Helen Smith. Been lovely. Thank you. You're welcome back any time. We could continue this for ages. We've got a packed show today. Anyway, we will speak to you again soon, I hope. Okay. Bye-bye, Helen. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye. We got no time for chit-chat. Look, because now it's only these two fabulous people. Where are we? There we are. Fantastic. There we go. Hello, Dr. Surina. And Jamie, how are you both?
Hello.
Good.
Very well.
Tip top. What can I say? Neil's even more tip and more top. He is. Now, tell us all about yourselves, why you're here, because I was really intrigued. Dr.
Jamie?
Surina, we're starting with the doctor. No. We start. You're a doctor.
Let's start with the expert. Come on.
Yeah. And we're seeing a doctor face to face, everybody. Come on. I know. I'm looking for a unicorn to come up the high street next. Jesus. Right, go on.
So my name is Dr. Surina Sehgal. I am a dentist based in central London, and I'm working with Superdrug as their ambassador to promote care range, which is really, really exciting. They've got a 20 in price, which is the equivalent of VAT across about 60 dental products, ranging from toothbrushes, toothpaste.
Surina, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but you cut out, for me anyway, you cut out.
And me too.
You cut literally just as you said, I'm promoting, and it was the most important word of the sentence. Could you just go back to that? You're promoting.
Sure. So I'm working with Superdrug. Okay.
Sorry, slight tech issues. Let's try that again. You're working with Superdrug.
So I'm working with Superdrug to promote their ProCare dental range. It's very, very exciting. They've got about 60 dental products where they're offering a 20% reduction in price, which is the equivalent of VAT. So it's amazing, and it's an incredible initiative for people to improve on their oral health and get better access to affordable dental products and very high quality. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay. Jamie, you're up.
I'm up. So yeah, my name's Jamie Archer. I'm the own brand director at Superdrug. So my team are responsible for developing one of our amazing brands called ProCare, which is our entire oral care brand. And I'm really excited to join you today to talk about our Healthy Smile campaign, which we've just launched today on the back of some research that we've conducted.
Great.
Hang on, Surina's smile is like killing it, right?
Yeah,
Serina's smile is like, Jesus, I need my Ray-Bans straight off. Look at that.
Oh, no,
straight out of Rodeo Drive. That's like sitting on Jones on Third and watching everybody. Fantastic. Superdrug's huge. I mean, it's just Jamie. Everybody looks young to me, but you've got this massive thing, and you're doing this huge job. It's a hell of a responsibility, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it's an amazing business to work for. I think we call it the Superdrug feeling, and it's something that's quite intangible. But you walk into our stores, and there's that Superdrug feeling that you get from being around our colleagues and in our shops. And I'm really, really proud to help play a small part in delivering our own brand products, which we have.
Modest. No, you're being modest now. No, he's being Surina. Is he being very modest? He's being modest. You're not fooling Neil. Neil's got his. I'm not buying this face.
What I'm really passionate about is delivering amazing quality products at a fraction of the price. I love a bargain, and I hate being ripped off. And I think part of our DNA is about delivering products that are on par or better than a branded equivalent, but at a fraction of the price, and making sure that anyone in the UK has access to all of those amazing products.
Do you do I'm coming back to you in a sec, Surina, but I used to do a lot of in the corporate world training, hell of a lot of training, and some institutions were just rubbish from the ground, from the top down, and some were absolutely brilliant. Obviously, you take a lot of care with your staff, I'm assuming, but it comes with to make them care about their customers. Presumably, you've got to be great from the top down, right?
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. I think the leadership of the business beyond my level are so focused on those on the ground and are so customer focused. So we have strategic pillars. The number one thing in our strategy is about being customer obsessed, we call it. So using all the data that we access, speaking to customers, observing them, seeing their likes, their dislikes. We get all of their feedback that we gather literally daily and weekly. And we are truly customer obsessed. And I've worked in a number of businesses, and I've never seen it modeled in a way that Superdrug do day in, day out.
I know this isn't why Dr. Surina isn't here, but I need to ask you this, Jamie, because this is a question that affects all of us. Why is it you go into some huge stores and they just don't give a shit? Let's be absolutely honest. You stand there like a dummy. No one cares. The service is appalling. And you go into other places and they're terrific. How can anybody who's running a business want their staff to treat customers in such a cavalier manner?
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I think recruitment is key. So recruiting good people that care for customers, that want to just put a smile on people's faces, which I guess is part of the Healthy Smile campaign that we're talking about now.
Neatly segue.
Very well done there. Very cleverly brought round.
You like that?
Hey, That is right up with Neil. That is right up with a segment.
We do, but we have a slogan, which is, every day we want to put a smile on our customers' faces. So clearly we're going to do that through our amazing oral care range, but we want to do that day in, day out, just through conversations and interactions.
It's Surina, if I may call it, I'm being a bit casual here. If you noticed, everybody a bit casual. I didn't use the word doctor in front. That's me banned from BMA. So, do you think people understand oral care? I think it's really simple. It's not it's not rocket science, but people just
last time I went to the dentist, they read me the Riot Act. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Oh.
Yeah, the problem with oral care is that people are overcomplicating it these days. I think that there is too much out there. There's so much information. Don't do this, don't do that. It is very, very difficult to kind of navigate your way through things. And I believe that simplicity is key for oral health, and it needs to be sustainable, because oral health is something that you'll need to do continuously, forever, twice a day, and work on it continuously. So it needs to be achievable. So sticking to the basics, brushing with an electric toothbrush, using a water flosser, cleaning your tongue daily. That is honestly the same.
Stop. What's the tongue thing?
So the tongue, you have to clean your tongue every day, because there's a lot of bacteria that sit on your tongue, which can contribute to bad breath. If it's not removed, then it can actually.
How do you clean your? All right, I'm going there. Watch my back, everybody. How do you I wish I wasn't asking this. I'm going to regret it. How do you clean your tongue?
So you can clean your tongue in two ways. You can use a tongue scraper, or you can use a separate manual toothbrush. It doesn't really matter. But my kind of favorite products are electric toothbrush, water flosser. Both of these, Superdrug have an incredible part of their Pro Care range. They're incredible, very high quality, effective. And then a tongue scraper. And I think that's kind of a good staple oral hygiene routine, as well as, of course, a good quality toothpaste. But if you're sticking to that twice a day and you're being consistent with it and you form a good habit with it, then you're really onto a good start.
What about, what I love? And Neil's nodding. Those little bottle brushes. I call them bottle brushes. You know what I mean? The little kind of brushy things. Dental brushes. Yeah, I don't like dental tape, but like those little brushes, they're blooming marvelous. Those, huh? They're great.
Yeah. Interdental brushes are great to clean in between your teeth. So you can use TP brushes, which you're referring to, or you can use dental floss. And the whole point of that is to clean in between your teeth. And that is crucial. A lot of people don't floss, they don't use TPs, and it's leaving a lot of plaque and bacteria sitting between their teeth. It can increase their risk of getting cavities. It can increase their risk of gum disease. So it's really important that you're flossing and brushing in between your teeth every day.
This is very vanity based, but how do you make your teeth whiter? Are there any other ways apart from having the set done and then doing the what is it? They give you this gel which you put in the I can't think of the words.
You put it in a tray and you
in the tray in your mouth. Yeah.
So, of course, there is actually no way to whiten your teeth at home. There's no way. It will not color. It will change the color of your teeth. Any toothpaste, whitening strips, it will not change the color of your teeth. What we as dentists prescribe is something called peroxide, and it needs to be at a certain dose to actually be effective and penetrate your tooth and whiten it from within. Most of the over-the-counter products at the moment, they just work on the surface, and what it can actually do is it can be a little bit abrasive. It can actually wear your enamel down. But in answer to your question, because I know a lot of people looking for how do we keep white teeth at home, is honestly to preserve our enamel, because our enamel is white. The layer underneath is called dentine. That's very yellow in color. So often, as we get older, our teeth become yellower. It's because the enamel layer, the white layer, is thinning due to things that we eat, acidic things that we eat, the way that we're brushing our teeth. We tend to over scrub, and that can thin our enamel. So actually, how to keep white teeth at home is brushing using an electric toothbrush. The Superdrug have a great electric toothbrush. Flossing, not using too much pressure when you brush your teeth. So using that pressure sensor in your toothbrush. And also the things that we eat. So if we eat a very acidic diet, we have lots of acidic fruits, we tend to snack a lot, then our teeth are going to be under that constant acidic attack and are going to thin over time. Again, shortening thinning that enamel white layer and exposing that yellow dentine layer underneath.
If that's already happened, is there any hope? Can things be re-enameled, or is that not possible?
Oh, sorry, the line just cut out for a second there.
That's okay. If that has already happened, can anything be done? Can teeth be re-enameled, or is that not possible?
Unfortunately not. So once we've lost our enamel, it's gone. So we can't regrow enamel back. So that's why it's really important to preserve it in the first place. But to change the color of our teeth and to improve the actual whiteness of the teeth, it actually needs to be done by a professional.
Okay. Can I ask a question? You've been talking about your great range in Superdrug. I'm happy to support that because you seem cool guys. My dental hygienist says this, which I hadn't appreciated at all. Let the brush do the work. So if you have a manual toothbrush and all that, let the electric tooth, you just, and go from the, is this right? If I'm saying this wrong, for God's sake, jump in and save me. But you start from the back, move to the front, go to the back, move to the front, and you're not scrubbing, you're just letting the brush, is that right?
You're absolutely correct. So with an electric toothbrush, you want to let the toothbrush do its work. So all you do is you hold it between the tooth and the gum for about 5 seconds, and then you move it onto the next surface. The thing, what people tend to do with electric toothbrushes is they tend to scrub, and that's actually the complete incorrect way of using an electric toothbrush. With a manual, yes, you're supposed to move it back and forth, but with an electric, you just hold it and move along, just as you said beautifully.
And get me. And also, are you putting the brush head? Jamie's going, get me out of here for God's sake. But are you putting the brush head from Superdrug into between the tooth and the gum? Is that the trick? You're trying to get into that bit there rather than the front of the teeth?
That's correct. So between the tooth and the gum, because that junction between the tooth and the gum is where it's a very warm, moist environment where bacteria love to sit. So it's really important that when you brush your teeth, you actually brush along the gum line. That's where a lot of bacteria sit and where a lot of people miss, which is why people's gums start bleeding and they get gum disease. It's because that plaque has just been sitting there along the gum line for so long and it's just not being removed properly.
Is that called gingivitis gum disease? Have I got that right?
That's exactly right. So
we're on fire.
You guys are great.
Fire today.
You don't need us on.
What the hell? God damn.
So gingivitis is a mild form of gum disease. It's totally reversible with better brushing. There's no magic pill for it. You just need to put in the work, brush twice a day along your gum line and floss, and you can reverse gingivitis.
Wow. Fantastic.
Jamie, I'm going to ask you a question because it's got nothing to do with why Dr. Surina is here, but you're obviously very good at what you do. You can just tell you've got that quiet competence. What was your career line? This is something you always wanted to do? I'm just curious because people are watching all over the world. We've got people in New York and New York State and all over the place, Spain, France. What was your trajectory?
Yeah, I mean, my real dream was to be a footballer. And I wasn't good enough. So then I had to have a plan B. And I was fortunate enough, one of the university courses that I had a 2-year sandwich course. There's a bit of a swear word, which I won't use, but our main competitor is where I started life in the retail world.
Is it something that footballers wear?
Yes, it starts with B and ends with oots.
Can't
or
imagine
a bit of a boo. You can boo if you
imagine
want.
what it is. Yeah.
So I started life there before I then clearly saw the light. I then spent actually 8 years of my life on the supplier side. So I got a job at L'Oreal. So I moved there for 2 years. Then I moved to Unilever. So I kind of had a really good grounding of both sides of the fence of kind of the retail world and then the supplier trying to sell in to retailers. And I was responsible for managing the Superdrug account at Unilever. And I fell in love with the culture. And I'm not just saying this. There was something infectious about Superdrug as a business, as in a culture.
Wow.
And I said to the CCO at the time, I said, the one job I want is the own brand job. Because I learned so much at L'Oreal and at Unilever, but I always felt quite restricted in terms of creativity and being able to really leave my mark and my stamp on things. So I said to him, the one role I want is that own brand job. So the second that becomes available, let's have a conversation.
Wow.
So we had the conversation. I've just celebrated my 5-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
And looking forward to the next 5 as well.
I've got to tell you something very weird about L'Oreal, though. Years ago, I used to do these pantos. I was a cheap date, basically. And we did Dick Whittington, and the actor was playing a cat. That's all he did. He was just Dick Whittington's cat, right? He's now one of the most senior people at L'Oreal. They've moved into Paris. And this guy, I can't believe he used to be our cat. It's fantastic. The most charming guy. So you see, career path, you never know.
Yeah. They say you either do 3 months, 3 years, or a lifetime. So you get into L'Oreal, you realize it's not for you and you jump ship. Yeah. You stick it out for 2-3 years, or you're a lifer. So you can have amazing careers there if you can stick it out.
Like loving his lifestyle, his pictures and everything is fantastic. Listen, you guys, thank you so much, Dr. Surina and Jamie. Bless you for coming. Bless you for trying to keep our teeth in the right. I say. Sorry, I'll leave you with this. So, what were they like? Well, they were nice, but their teeth reminded me of the Spice Girls. Why was that? Well, they were all different colours and all went in different directions. And on that note,
thank you for having us.
Thank you. Good luck. Bye now.
Good
Bye-bye. Weren't they nice? They were lovely, weren't they? They were smashing.
Indeed. What a busy show today.
It's been very, very busy. Loads and loads and loads and loads of questions and answers. I think a lot of people wanted to talk about death as well. What have we got here? A lot of people. What have we got? Boom. From Dave Sleep. Death. Jesus. Death is often the part of life we have least control of. You think? By planning our own end-of-life celebration, will help face the lack of controls. I tell my kids, shove me on a skip. Don't worry about it. Just on a skip, and that'll be absolutely fine. Would you like to read this from Paul Claridge?
I had to sign the DNR for my mum. It was cancer that took her. Oh, and my great dear Auntie Ellen passed a few weeks ago at the age of 96. Dementia took her to the funeral. There was a video of her a few weeks before she died, but her daughter put on a Vera Lynn record. Suddenly, Auntie was back singing loudly "The White Cliffs of Dover." Yes, absolutely.
Oh, gosh,
that's quite something. That phenomenon.
This
is why I think virtual reality, VR headsets could really help with people with these sorts of conditions. This is Graham.
With dementia, God damn, yes. It would make them happy. It would put them in a happy place. I say this from horrible personal experience. I always said this. I'm being very honest about it, very open. When my mom got dementia, Alzheimer's, if she'd have thought she was the Queen of France, I would have been happy. She would have been happy. But she created a completely three-dimensional world, none of which was true. It was awful. It was depressing and terrible. None of it. It was complete fantasy, and it was ghastly.
It was a complete personality change. My mum became very argumentative, almost narcissistic.
And aggressive, rude, language.
Just a total personality shift. You could see there was something not right, but she wouldn't have it. She literally wouldn't have it. Nothing wrong with me. You're the one who's ill, Neil.
Oh my God. And how did you learn? This is a very personal question. Tell me to sod off if you want. But how did you learn not to absorb that?
I didn't.
Not say, no, that's it. That's the thing. You take it home. You take it home. You leave the nursing home.
I didn't. I've had long chats late into the night with friends saying I should have done better, shoulda, woulda, coulda, and occasionally still do. Okay, jump out at the most sensitive bit, why don't you? Okay. I've had long chats late into the night with friends of mine, that kind of shoulda, woulda, coulda conversation. Is it something that I did? Was I making it worse? But it's really difficult. It's
sorry,
I'm not a doctor. I'm not trained in any of that. I just simply didn't know what I was doing, and it's frustrating because part of the condition, I don't know if you found it in your mum, they become really awkward, and it looks like they're just being awkward for the sake of it.
Tell me about it.
Looks like they're being awkward just to be awkward and know which buttons to push. Does that make sense? Do you relate to that?
Totally. Yeah. Oh man, You know, I'm not proud of this.
I'm not an angry person, but it started as frustration.
Oh man!
And I'm ashamed to say it did become anger after a while. And at the beginning, trying to do everything, and then you get something called compassion fatigue. And I looked it up, and it's got 4 stages, and it starts as zealot, where you've got a big S Superman on your chest. I can do it all. And then there's 2 other in between stages, and it ends up as zombie, where you're just dead-eyed and there's nothing left.
I know.
Can you relate?
I'm going to say something. I hope it helps others, and I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it. But I would go and see Mum. There's only me. I don't have any brothers or sisters. It was only me.
Do you not?
And some other people were very, very kind as well, but few and far between. Few and far between. And most people said, "Oh, Russell, we want to remember her as she was." Geez, I'd like to have remembered her as she was, but I didn't have that option, right? So putting that to one side, and I'd arrive at the home, and I'd sit in the car park, and I'd have to steel myself. I'm embarrassed. I had to steel myself before I went in. And afterwards, I would come out, sit in the car, and bawl my eyes out. If it helps other people. We've got our next guest. I am so excited about this.
When she was in hospital, I would go and visit every day, but I could only stay about 10 minutes, literally.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
There was just no point because it was so weird. She'd always forgotten how to turn her head. It was so weird. Like, the most simple thing to,
you know what? We should devote a whole show to it because we've got a lot. I never thought we would get this literary giant on our show. Huge fan. And here she is, the fabulous Kate Mosse.
I like being a literary giant. I'm a really small person. So being a giant is
tiny, tiny typewriter. Kate Mosse. Oh wow, we are not worthy. Hello. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well indeed.
Good. Congratulations on all you do. People we sit there going, Kate Mosse, I love her stuff, and they've been doing that all over the world. Right, but you're not here for that, bizarrely. You're here for
I could be here for praise and not do anything. I think that'd be great.
Oh well, we could just sit here and praise you for the next 12 minutes if you like.
I mean, it doesn't happen much, but I love
that. You're amazing. You're amazing, Kate. I love your work.
Okay, that's fine. All right, that's enough now. Yeah.
No. I got to tell you, Kate. I'm not just name dropping, but this really amused me. Yesterday, I went to see Tracy Ann Oman in The Merchant of Venice, and there was a do after. There was a do after. You were who was there?
My husband and son were there. I couldn't go.
Oh. Anyhow, it was genius. We'll talk about that another time. And there was a do afterwards at BAFTA. So I trundled along and I was kindly invited by our theatre critic, Jonathan Baz, to be his +1. And I'd noticed in the audience one of my favourite actors called Phil Davis. He's just one of my favourite actors. Yeah. And I thought, well, I'm never going to meet Phil Davis. And I'm standing, he's just a few people away at BAFTA. And I thought, I'm going to go up. And I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Davis, I never thought I'd have the opportunity to meet you." I said, "I just want to say," and I know it's a very uncool thing. We're all meant to be cool because we're here at an after show party at BAFTA, but I absolutely love your work and have done for many years. And he went, "No, that's great." He said, "I love it." He couldn't have been nicer, but I a big admirer. I think we get too scared to go and say up.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. Anyway, what a great actor. That's not why you're here. Anyway, Kate, tell us why you're here.
I'm here because we are launching a campaign. This is Find My Past, which is the British tech-driven genealogy company, to put women back into family trees, into history. Now, I've written Warrior Queens and Quiet Revolutionaries, which is about putting 1,000 women back into history. And I use the spine of my own family history to try and tell that story about why women do disappear from history. And not only women, of course, lots of men are not in history because history has been written by a very narrow band of people about a very narrow band of people.
Yeah, generally by the victors, we understand.
Exactly, by the victors. And also, actually, Neil, with an agenda quite often. People forget about that often history is rewritten in order to justify things that are going on now.
And is it a patriarchal thing why women are left out also?
Yes, it is. In that quite often, firstly, history came out of universities as a discipline, out of universities and religious institutions where women were barred. There was also quite often, therefore, men writing history not noticing what women were doing or not valuing it or not appreciating it. In science, what you see in particular, the attributing of women's work to the men that worked for them or beside them. So Mary Ann Anning, the great fossil hunter, is a great example of that, where she was one of the great paleontologists of all time, but her work for hundreds of years was attributed to the men who bought the fossils from her, because nobody believed that the woman had done it. You know, it's that kind of thing. So there's all those reasons. In family history, it's slightly different. And this is because of the way that family trees are put together, and quite often the idea of the head of a family. And what Find My Past discovered, they have access to 14 billion digitized records. So that is quite unbelievable. I mean, eye-watering numbers.
Did you say 14 million or billion?
Billion with a B. 40. I know. Now wait for this one. This is going to blow your mind, Russ. So what they discovered in this research is that in family trees, 39 million women are missing. In other words, I know. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? 39 million fewer women than men in family trees. Now, we know that that can't be true. And then when you look into the people registered as unknown, which means somebody was there, but you don't know what they were called or when they died or they were born. 71% of the unknowns in family trees are women. So this is kind of mind-blowing stuff, isn't it? So what we were trying to do was firstly just find out how it had happened and why. But more importantly, and this is what I'm so passionate about, this campaign, is to say all of us normal people, I mean, with all due respect to you brilliant gentlemen, but we're neither of us kings or queens. History's always written about a very narrow band of people, but history is us. Our real lives are what make history too. Our family lives.
Do you know, Kate, recently a friend of mine, he's very into his history, and I credit him with revivifying my interest in it, because it's exactly for the reason that you said. When I was learning history at school, I didn't know it was written by a narrow band of people for a narrow band of people. I was way too young to understand that. It was just boring. It was just names and dates, and it was boring. But when you understand that it's real life and it can help you understand why you and we are where we're at today, that's where we came from. That was our evolutionary process through all that. Then it kind of gets exciting.
That's right. And history is the most exciting topic. I mean, it's the most exciting topic. And the fact that most of us have been left out of it, for me, obviously, my project with the Women's Prize for Fiction and Non-Fiction and my own historical writing and history, it's about women being left out. But there's also lots of other people who've been left out. And what I'm passionate about this campaign is that what we're saying is to anybody, you matter. Your family matters. And you can be a detective. You can start to research the women of your family, whether you're a man or a woman, anybody, you can research the women in your family and you can put them back. And then you start to get a sense of what life is really about and where you come from. Because if we're only hearing half the story, it's not history at all, is it? You know, there was another incredible statistic. I'm full of them, obviously, because they were so mind-blowing. But in what they also discovered, Find My Past discovered, was in the military records, 98% of names recorded were men. 98%. Now, we know that that's not accurate in terms of women and men in the services. Obviously, there are more men. But 81% of Red Cross volunteers were women, but most of them are missing. So it's about telling the whole story, but mostly it's about telling our story, those of us who make up history. And what we want is everybody, wherever they live in the country, to get involved and to, you know, if everybody listening to this show, I know you have millions of listeners, if everyone put one woman back, well, there we go. You know, we're aiming to put 5 million back, and I don't think we should stop at that. But if everybody does the research, then we can do it, can't we, together?
We've talked about some pretty big numbers, and I just want to flag something up here just to underscore what you said. How many billion did you say?
Find My Past have access to 14 billion digitized records.
No, I do know. I want to flag this because a lot of people think, million, billion, they're quite similar. No, they're not.
No.
If you were to count to 1 million in 1 second increments, it would take you 9 days. If you were to count to 1 billion in 1 second increments, any guesses?
Well, no, but I'm impressed.
It's something like 50. It's either
9 days for 1 million. 1 second, one number per second. 1, 2, 3. That would take you 9 days to 1 million. How long to 1 billion, do you think?
30 years, I'm going with.
27 years.
Actually, that wasn't
a bad guess.
Not a bad guess. And if you want another statistic, to go to 1 trillion would take 27,000 years.
Oh my God. Well, we'll be all extinct by. No, but you see, actually, you're right, because the point about this enormous access is that it's not just one area. They have access to so much, so many different bits of data that this data is very clear and true. So it's a problem in all parts of the country, in all different ways, in all different types of families, that the women are simply missing. One of the things that came out that was so fascinating for me is the role of the census in this, because often, of course, we go to the census to find out where people were, what they were doing, what their occupations were. And between the 1861 census and the 1871 census, it looks like a load of women have just gone missing, that women have just stopped working and they're not doing anything. What it turned out was that, of course, women were just doing exactly the same as they'd always been doing. But the rules for recording how work was defined were rewritten, thereby writing women out. So
why was that?
Well, the workplace was primarily designed. The workplace was designed, in my understanding, by men for men. And this is another historical thing. I heard, and please correct me on this, that in older times, and I couldn't put a date on it, it was more in evolutionary theory, if you like, the men that went out and caught the buffalo or the wildebeest or whatever, and the women would be in circles. The women, there was much more of a community of women. They were caring for the children. They were caring for the community, which is why a lot of women today, look back historically, experience a loneliness if they're perhaps a mum at home or that kind of thing, because women, particularly men too, but more particularly women, need that circle of support. They need that thing. It's just a necessary thing for a woman's mental health. I understand.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting point and a very pertinent one. It's certainly true that in very, very earlier societies that we have records of, there were very delineated roles between men and women, whether you're looking at the Khoi in South Africa, who were hunter-gatherers, or the San, who were bushmen, and all of these things. But also for a huge amount of history, the idea that women weren't doing physical things, that was only true for, again, a very narrow band of people. Most women in more working class environments and less privileged backgrounds, I suppose you might call it today, were doing backbreaking work in the fields alongside the men. They were down, they were in the factories, they were lugging stones about. Yes, absolutely. So the thing about this is that you're absolutely right, that there are different issues that play into this. The keeping of records is a matter that has happened in all societies, and in all societies decide what they value in that record keeping and what not. And that's, of course, why women often disappear, because it's being kept by the court, for example. And the only women they see in the court are the queens, the mistresses, and the servants. They don't see anybody else.
So really you're arguing for a case, and a very good argument too, that we should widen the scope of what we value as a society. If we're going to evolve and be a balanced society, I would say.
Absolutely right. For me, this is why I wrote Warrior Queens and Quiet Revolutionaries, and I did a one-woman show with that last year, and everywhere I went, I'd have a lovely man would come up to me in the audience afterwards, and he'd go, "I didn't want to come. My wife made me go." And then he'd say, "But I've loved it." Because the way that I would talk about it, as I said, this is not about taking gorgeous, brilliant, wonderful men out of history. It's about putting the gorgeous, brilliant, wonderful women in, next to them, back where they belong, where they always were. My lovely dad once said to me, he said about setting up the Women's Prize. He said, "Oh, I see, darling, it's just about getting a bigger table and more chairs." Now, that
what a great,
Who made that great quote that behind every great man there's a great woman? It was in a song as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Annie Lennox had it in Sisters Are Doing
It for Themselves.
Yeah.
My quote for that, Neil, is behind every great man is an astonished woman.
Now, but
how did that happen?
The other thing I would add to this is, and this is what's so important about family history, that I think one of the reasons that this campaign from Find My Past is so important is that family history is so often about the incredible strength of women in a domestic and closed space, which if that doesn't get included, it looks, women become much more invisible. And so this is very, very important that we do put everybody back. I mean, I discovered when I was writing the book last year that I had, wait for this, in my own family, I'm a writer, I'm in my 60s, I've been around a fair amount of time, I'm paddling in archives. I discovered at the age of 60 that my great-grandmother was a famous novelist, and I did not know. Yes. I know. I did not
Fantastic.
know. And I'd heard that there was somebody in my family, always in air quotes, who wrote, which was always like, she does the church flowers on a Sunday. It didn't seem very important. It turned out she was Gladstone, the Prime Minister Gladstone's favourite novelist. She was really famous in her day. She had written 14 novels, collections of children's stories, poetry, devotional work. She was a very religious woman. She was a correspondent for a magazine. Nothing. All of her books out of print, no mention of her in any biographies. I had to go digging terribly deep to find her at all. And what that taught me was that even women who were really famous in their day can vanish unless we kind of put everybody into the record. And we've got to put the sinners as well as the saints, because we do that with men. We put the baddie men in as well as the lovely ones. And we've got to do the same with women. We've got to be courageous about that. But this campaign, what we want is to start building, if you like, true history from the ground up. And if everybody adds one woman to their family tree, then we're on our way, aren't we? And that's what and we're asking people through the website to share stories of extraordinary stories they find from women in their families, which could be their mums, their great granny, their auntie, and however people define families. There's a whole, it's not just the straightforward old fashioned nuclear family. And then those stories will be voted on, and we'll be putting up a plaque to the one that gets the most votes. And I'm really keen on this. A plaque.
Oh, how cool is that?
Because it's very important that history is a living thing, and boys, girls, everybody, when they walk around, they should be able to look up and see all sorts of people commemorated on the walls, statues and plaques, not just men on horses, because it gives the impression otherwise that the only thing that we value is men on horses. And frankly, there are things I value more.
Unless it was Lester Piggott, obviously.
Lester Piggott.
That would be okay.
My mum would have agreed with you. She was very keen on Lester Piggott and racing.
Absolutely.
But on a serious point, there are more statues in the UK to men called John than to all the women put together.
Good God.
Oh, I know.
Drop that one again before we let you go. Drop that again.
There are more statues in the UK to men called John than all the women put together.
Goodness me.
And John is a great name. I know lots of lovely Johns.
With the name John,
wrong, you know what I mean? But
it's too much of a good thing.
Yeah, and all of that. And if we tell the truth about history, men and women together doing the things, it not only liberates women from the idea that women are only supposed to be a certain way. I would say just as important, it liberates men, because men can be the people they want to be as well, because there's all the examples of all the things that people have done. So for me, history is about putting all of us back. But obviously with this Find My Past, it's a rallying cry. I want everybody to join in, to go back and to be inspired. And they can go to the website, and they don't need to know anything about tracing your family history. It will tell you all the tips and that you need to know, that checking local newspapers, checking wills, checking land registry, the way that you start to build a family tree. And you could start it today for free.
You are the best ambassador ever.
I'm really excited about it. I think it's so important.
This is the great thing about life, before we let you go. The great thing about life, if you're enthusiastic about something, it's infectious. It comes across, and you think, even if it's a subject like diddly squat about, you go, that sounds good. And then you get
I love the way you call history a living thing, because I'm starting to see it that way now, and it's so much more exciting when it's revivified, isn't it? It was always very dead at school. Names, dates, you know.
And nothing to do with any of us. It was like, you know, why am I being told to learn the dates when the drains were invented in London?
Or what William the Conqueror did. I don't really care.
By Sir Joseph Bazalgette, by the way.
Well, indeed. Very good. And William the Conqueror, now you see, funny enough, I do care about that, because the earliest moss that we know of was a knight in William the Conqueror's army. Came across in 1966. Yeah.
Wow.
Of all the examples that I had to pick off the top of my head.
I tell you what, Neil, it wouldn't have mattered what you picked. I would have had some annoying little perky piece of information.
You know, I believe you. I could have picked someone from 300 BC and say, actually, he was quite significant for this reason.
Exactly. What did the Romans ever do for us, eh?
Exactly.
Name another thing. Kate Mosse, absolute pleasure and an honour, I'm going to say. And
what a pleasure to meet you both. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Kate. Good luck with the campaign. And
I hope it's smashed.
Come back and see us again.
I would love to. I will come back
always
next time.
welcome.
All right. Lots of love.
So much.
Nice
bye-bye. Have a lovely day.
Okay, Take care. Bye-bye.
And that's where we have
a show, man.
What a show. It was a wowzer. And of course, now we can make our shows a little bit longer, because if the conversations are interesting, as it was with Kate Mosse.
By the way, within the next hour, I busted a scammer yesterday and recorded everything on my phone screen and pissed them off so much that they blocked me. It's fantastic.
This is good.
It'll be on my Facebook within an hour. Neil Long DJ.
I will tune in. Neil, as ever, a pleasure. We're looking forward to seeing you on Monday. I will be back with Mr. Phil Dave and Chantal Rickards on Friday. Until then, try and stay out of trouble.
Love you, hug you, squeeze you.
You know it.